Hello and welcome to another edition of Draw It and Know It. I'm cartoonist Dan Letha for the ministry Reasons for Hope. And today we're going to draw an art lesson edition, and it is a special one because it's step by step how to draw a praying mantis, my favorite, bar none, my favorite insect. So I'm excited about this one. Let's get going. We're going to start up in the upper right hand corner, and I'm going to start out with my pencil, and we're going to let's draw a triangle. But this triangle kind of has rounded sides to it, just a little bit. So that's about the general shape of the praying mantis head. And let's draw a stick there for the thorax, and then another line for where the abdomen goes. And let's thicken up that thorax part a little bit, kind of the neck and shoulder area of the mantis. And then for the abdomen, we're going to draw a curvy line there, and then a more curvy line on the bottom part to give that abdomen some thickness. So again, we're drawing our guidelines in. 2 notches here show us where the legs attach. And the legs are real bendy, so draw a line down and up, and then down, and then draw another notch right there because that's going to mean something in the future. And then draw another line down, and then up and over, and then down. So those are the 2 legs that face us, and then that little notch in the bottom again. And this is the leg that's behind, the front leg that's on the other side. And then draw that line down. And then another little notch right about there. And then the leg that's back there, we're just going to draw that part. And then that little notch. All right. So the 4 legs, now the 2 famous front legs. The ones that do all the catching of the prey that this praying mantis catches. And then so there's the front one, or the close one, and then the one in back, and then curve around, and then there's a little attachment on the end, and we'll clarify that in a little bit. And now we're going to add some thickness to those front legs because they're thicker than the other legs. And they're very specialized, designed to capture prey. These front legs are traps. And so add that thickness to both the front parts, kind of the forearms of that big trap that the mantises are built with. And then add some thickness to that line right there. So we've got those front legs pretty much sketched out. So when we ink these, we'll follow pretty much those lines as given. Now let's draw some lines in here for the spines, those spikes that once the mantis grabs an insect or whatever it's going to eat, those spines stick right into the critter, and the mantis won't let it go. So those are guidelines that'll help us ink in those spines later on. You don't have to be perfect as far as drawing the amount that I'm drawing, but just draw some lines in there. Then there's a couple of antennae that the mantis has. We'll kind of curve those around so we can stay inside the borders of our paper. And then there's one eye. Another eye. Well, I'm going to change that second one, so I'm going to fix that line a little bit. I think I made it a little too big. So there we go. So there's the second eye. The mantis has wonderful eyes, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then there's some face shape lines that we're drawing on the mantis that give the face some shape. There's kind of a weird little circle-ish type of thing on the top lip of the mantis, and we'll give the bottom of the face some thickness there too. And there's a couple little eye dots that the mantis has that actually will follow you around if you look at the mantis. And Scientists are still kind of puzzled about those. All right, so the mantis has that top part and bottom part to the abdomen. The abdomen is broken up into segments, and we'll be inking those in a little bit. And so there's the basic structure of the mantis. And now I'm going to get out my ink pen, and let's start inking over the top of our pencil sketch. And I'm going to start out with the eyes, and I'm going to add a little more detail. So watch how I ink this, because my ink lines are going to be a little different than the pencil sketch lines. So we're inking the eyes, and when I color this mantis in, I'll be telling you all about the eyes and the arms and all that special pieces, all those special pieces and parts that God has designed into the praying mantis. So we're drawing the front of the mouth. There's actually some other parts, if you look at photos, that the mantis has that I didn't include on this drawing of the mantis, just to keep things a little more simple. But that's the basic idea of the shape of the face. And there's the eye dots that the mantises have. And now let's draw the thorax, that neck shoulder part of the mantis. And again, we've got that drawn in pretty well, so again, I'm adding little details here and there, so watch for those. But otherwise, our structure is pretty good. And then there's a kind of a side line there a little bit, so we'll make a thin little side line. And then the shoulder of that, those two front, they look like arms. They're actually legs, but they're used like arms. And then, okay, pay attention now to where when I start drawing the spikes. All right, so every time there's a line there, I'm going to go up and back and make like a little tooth spike thing there. So just keep doing that every time you run into one of those guidelines. Those guidelines are very handy to help us know where we're going to draw our ink lines. Not exactly, but they give us an idea. So, and then the joint line, and then the spike lines again. And the different mantises have different numbers of spikes. Some have more, some have less. Of course, the bigger ones probably have more. And then there's a little leg attachment right at the end of that arm, because those are legs. They look like arms, but they're legs. And that little attachment there is when the mantis walks around, you'll see him or her use that leg attachment on the front of those arms. All right, follow the ink lines there again, or the sketch lines that I drew earlier. Now that leg is behind, the arm leg is behind, so I like to draw some shadow to put it behind the thorax shape there. Again, following, now we're going to do the same thing with these spike lines. I'm not getting things exactly perfect there, but again, they're just guidelines to follow. All right, so we're almost done with these very powerful and lightning quick legs, and drawing in those spikes. Again, you don't have to draw them exactly just like I have, but get the general idea there. And we'll leave a little space for that leg attachment, and I want to draw this a little shorter here than I have the guideline. All right, then go back up. There we go. So the front legs are done. Now we're going to draw the back, the abdomen, the top of the abdomen there. They actually have wings on them. Most adult mantises have wings. And watch how I draw the legs here too, because there's joints involved, and it gets a little tricky. So you probably want to start and stop the video watching this to get how I draw the joints on these legs. You go up to the top, and then continue down to the bottom to finish that segment of the leg. And then right there, we're going to draw a round top of that joint for the next leg. And then down those notches at the bottom are the end of that particular segment. So draw a thickness on each side of the sketch line, and then draw the end of that joint, and then the bottom of that leg. And you put those two little toes at the bottom there. All right, so we can finish the top of the wing part. And the mantises usually have 4 wings. And so drawing in another wing section there. So there's 2 wings that we see. Of course, there's 2 wings on the other side. So, and then the wing has some little detail, like wing structure detail there that I'm drawing those lines in. And then the bottom, oh wait, let's do the leg first, the front leg that we see. Again, watch how I draw this to get those joints just right. And then draw that second segment there. And then this next joint part. And come down the other side. Those guidelines again are very handy for drawing the thickness of the leg on each side. And then the front of the abdomen. And then that leg that's in the back. Again, just following the guideline to help us know where that leg goes. And there's the end of that joint for that segment of that leg. Round it off there, and then draw that down. And I think once you've got one of those legs, you pretty much know how to draw the rest of them. Just the joints are a little different in arrangement on what's on top of what. And the little bottom leg part there with the 2 little toes. All right, and we got the bottom of that abdomen to go. And then watch how I draw those segments too, because one segment is kind of like a little bit bigger than the next one. And then you start the line right about there, so it's got that almost like a roof of a house type of feel. And then the end, our abdomen is finished. And now we got that one leg that's left. And again, there's a shadow there to put it behind. And now those legs are finished. Let's draw another shadow right there. And then let's see. Oh, we've got those antennas. And there's a couple little like base pieces that the mantis has, and then the antenna kind of stick out. And instead of drawing the thickness to the antennas, I'm just going to draw a line for those. And you can draw the thickness in if you want, like we did the legs, but the antennas are pretty thin, so I'm just going to leave them like that. So let's make the sketch go away. And now I'm going to draw or color in the mantis. Now this particular mantis is green, and so most mantises that we see around the world are either green or brown. But let's set the color aside for a second here. The praying mantis is called a praying mantis, not because it eats a lot of prey, P-R-E-Y, but to many people it looks like it's praying, P-R-A-Y. And so that's where it gets its name, although we're going to be talking a lot about its prey, P-R-E-Y, the things that it eats today too, because this is a predator insect that is very, very good at what it does and very famous for how it does it. And there's about 2,400, a little more than 2,400 species of mantises around the world. And the one that I'm drawing here is common to the United States, and so it's about, well, this is a pretty big mantis. Gets to be about 6 inches long. And they can be small, about a 1/2 inch, or up to about 6 inches. So They are a variety of different sizes, the different mantises around the world. They can be thick, they can be thin, they can be all kinds of different shapes. Mantises are very wild, the variety that God has placed into the mantis. But like I said, they're usually green or brown, and then that helps them hide in the area that they're in, the habitat, whether they're in a field with brownish grass or whether they're among trees. The mantis likes to hide. It has many different looks. Some of them would say that it's a master mimic. But the mimic part really isn't something that the mantis does. It's something that our Creator did. And if you look at pictures of different types of mantises, some of them look like sticks, some of them look like leaves, some of them look like flowers. There's an orchid mantis that's amazing in the detail and how it looks just like an orchid. And so God has caused the mantis to look just like some things. And some people say, well, it evolved to look like those things. I don't think so. The amount of detail is amazing. The spots on leaves and the lines that look like leaves. It's just crazy how this insect looks a lot like the things that it hides around. Well, they tend to live in warmer areas of the world, and their lifespan, sadly, is very, very short. It's about 1 year. Now, where I live here in Kentucky, the mantises hatch in the spring, and then they lay their eggs in the fall, and then they die. So the actual lifespan of the mantis here is more like half a year or somewhere in that realm. The female is bigger than the male, and so the female will lay the eggs in an egg case, and there can be up to 400 eggs, depending upon the species, in these egg cases, and they're very, very tough. They come out as foam, but they're very, very tough. They survive the winter. Nymphs hatch out of these. They look just like mini adults, but they have no wings, and then they molt several times, and that last molt is the one that they get their wings. Now, this is an ambush predator, and it stays hidden until it strikes, and it's very, very good at hiding. And they're usually active in the daytime because they need those eyes to see what it's hunting. And the head on the mantis is very, very unique too, because it can swivel its head around 180 degrees. It's the only insect, or one of the only insects, that can look over its shoulder. Now, these eyes are very wonderful. It has great eyesight because it has to see the insect or whatever it's stalking to eat. And so each eye, or the eyes are made up of mini eyes. So it's a compound eyes. And there's lots of little different eyes that make up insect eyes. There's about 10,000 in the mantis. So that being said, so you got those two big sections that look like eyes that have dots in them. But the mantis actually has 5 separate eyes, and so there's 3 little eyes on the top of its head. These eyes can see in 3D, stereo vision. And to do that, it kind of moves around a little bit, and those the eyes, the way that they're positioned, again, God has designed it this way, help it to see the distance, calculate the distance that it has to move to grab whatever it's going to grab. And it can actually detect movement up to 60 feet away. So, wonderful eyesight on the mantis. Now, those limbs up on the front, those big spiky limbs that are famous for the mantis, those are lightning fast. They can grab something in a 20th of a second, and they're very strong. And usually when the prey gets grabbed, it doesn't get away, usually. And they can actually catch something up to 3 times the size of the mantis. Now, the mantis eats lots of bugs. Grasshoppers and crickets are favorites. I've had pet mantises before, and I go out and grab those 2 insects, and it loves to eat grasshoppers and crickets. It eats flies and mosquitoes and moths, so all kinds of pesky insects that we don't like to have around. But lots of people use them for pest control, which is good. But one caution about that is that it also eats the good bugs too. So it can eat bees and other things that you do want to have around. Now, mantises also eat other things too. They're kind of an opportunity type of insect, and so sometimes they eat hummingbirds, which is kind of sad, lizards and frogs, and some have even eaten fish. And so that's pretty wild to think of. Now, this mantis is hungry, and there's a little bonus insect that I'm drawing here. Some lunch is coming by the mantis's way. What do you think this is going to be? I think it looks like something that I don't necessarily like to have around. Yep, this is a fly that's flying by, and so this mantis may be quick enough when this fly flies by to grab it out of the air. Those arms are lightning quick. And as I'm drawing the wings on this fly, now flies are very good flyers. Mantises, on the other hand, are not very good flyers. They're pretty clumsy when they're flying around. One tip, if you live in an area with mantises, is that at nighttime they're attracted to artificial lights, and so sometimes you'll see the mantises fly around light poles looking for more bugs that are also attracted to the lights. And you can notice the mantis too, because like I said, it's a very clumsy flyer, and so they're kind of easy to spot. But God has designed the mantis as a predator, as an ambush predator, this thing that all of a sudden pops out of the background and grabs whatever it's going to eat, because it's camouflaged very, very well. It is a patient insect, in that it just stands there and waits and waits and waits until something comes its way. And then it's fun to watch, because when that insect comes that it wants to see, it sees it and it turns its head to look at it, and you know it's going to strike. And so that insect will get really close to the mantis or that bug or whatever it sees as food, and bam, it grabs it and starts munching on it. And so they're a lot of fun to watch. I've had many for pets in the past, but they're my favorite insect. Now, again, they're a reminder that we live in a fallen world, and some people could say, oh, it's kind of gross that this thing is eating all those things. And so death is associated with the mantis because it's a predator, and it eats insects and other things that we might like. We do live in a fallen world, and sometimes even the features in a fallen world can be something that cause us to have some awe and wonder at the things that God has made. Now, will there be mantises in heaven? Yeah, I think there will be. That's my personal opinion, but I don't think it's probably going to do the same thing that it does now in this fallen world. Everything in the beginning was designed to eat plants, and so I think that the mantis will go back to eating plants in heaven. So we'll have to see when we get there about some of those details. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this drawing of a praying mantis. Join me next time on Draw It and Know It, and we'll draw some other fascinating creatures designed by our wonderful Creator.